Hey, how you doing? Good morning. I'll be good afternoon. It's 2 p.m. West African time. That's the time we do book club. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to another time to do this, another privilege and opportunity to do it. Uh, I'm presently studying out Night Book, the Confidence Game. The Confidence Game by Maria Konnikova, the author of the Mastermind and the confidence game. Why we fall for it every time. That's what we're learning. Why we fall for it every time and how we can avoid falling for the confidence game. How we can avoid being a victim of being swindled, a victim of being mugged, a victim of being forward. And we have that all over social media. We have people, trying to gain access to our WhatsApp, to use it for their evil intent. They come and they're so like they're harmless. They talk so harmlessly, and they want to just suck us in. They are suckers. They want to suck us in. And what we're doing in this book here is just to learn how to overcome such temptation, such deception in our life, so that we can, and they won't have one on us, we have one on them, we're ahead of them in the game. We don't become victims, of such people who try to abuse trust, right? That's what we're learning. We're also taking the extra effort to just look at confidence on its own. As much as these people abuse trust is a major factor in life. So the ability to trust and be trusted will make you rich. The ability to trust and be trusted will make you rich. If people cannot trust you, if you cannot trust people, you cannot be rich. You cannot make it in this life. You'll be a loner, right? You'll walk alone, but loners don't make money. Loners don't become rich. You need other people in your life. And in that wise, you need to be able to gain trust and give trust also. So hopefully we'll be able to look at that good opposite side to swindling. So thank you. You're welcome. In a bit to give breath to our study and our time together. We're not only reading our main book, which we might call the King Altar, right? We're reading three other books to support it, just to help us get depth and breadth to the study that we're doing. One of the three is the Beacon by David W Maurer. He's a professor in linguistics, and he goes out there to talk to different con artists just to gain an understanding and insight into the old artistry of conning people, and that's what David brings to us. The other book is written by R. Paul Wilson, The Art of the Con. He started off a bit trying to con people, but he's changed his ways and is using what he knows, to help people avoid being conned. He does different um, presentations, mock sessions, all to help us gain our consciousness so that that we don't get conned by people. So that's what he's brought to us. He's brought his own knowledge. He's brought all the practice session, to us, and we're able to gain wisdom from that. you know and the last but not the least is the Mark Inside, written by Amy Redding. Amy Redding, writes this like a novel in a novel format, but in writing a novel still helps us to see what this artistry looks like, helping us to see the different angles of what the con artists look like, hopefully helping us to get wisdom so that we don't become sucked into such, right? So that's what we've been doing. This is our third session in chapter one of the book. That's where we're on right now. And chapter one of the book talks about the victim, who is the Mac, and also the grifter, who is a sucker, the doodler, the swindler, the 419 person, the muggler, and so we're going to talk about them, but first we want to talk about every one of us. Every one of us are potential victims, and what makes us victims and what we can do about it. That's what we started talking about two weeks ago now. This is our third time, in that topic, talking about the mark. Who is the potential victim? Who is really every one of us? So we're going to continue from where we stopped last week. We had a group session. We had several people come and we engaged. We engaged, and we got a lot more because of the engagement. Hopefully, we'll have that today. But let me bring up my slide here and we'll go on into today's. So we talk about uh, the mark. It said it should be no reflection upon a man's intelligence to be swindled. We said that being swindled is not because you're not intelligent, right? Being swindled might be because you don't have street wisdom, right? It doesn't tell on your IQ. If someone is able to swindle you, can be the most intelligent person, but you can still be swindled. The question is whether you are streetwise or not. These people know that you're intelligent, and they write a script for you. There's a script for the intelligent. There's a script for the unintelligent. There's a script for the rich. There's a script for the poor. It's an intelligently written script in such a way to get you suckered into the game. They study you, they know you, and they bring the things that can hopefully make you fall. I've been a bit into sort of a victim of this in the what we call the timeshare. The timeshare is a big time con artistry game. I've been several times in their meetings and them trying to sucker me into buying a timeshare. Fortunately, unfortunately, I have bought timeshares at least two times. Two times. I bought into the Maria timeshare in Las Vegas. I bought into there was another one we bought, and when we went somewhere else also. Las Vegas was when I was living in California, and I felt, hey, all right, we can always come to Vegas. It's just about 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours drive from where we live. We thought we could come every so often. So we bought it, but we never used it. We never went back. We didn't go back off that often when we lived out in California. And but it was just a game to make money, so yeah, but they pressure you into buying into it. That's the con part of it. They note who you are. First of all, they won't want you to come unless you are such a person that can make a decision, at that meeting without leaving. So they'll ensure that you have your driver's license, you have your credit card, otherwise you'll not be admitted into the meeting place. They want it such that you can make a decision before you leave. They do know that if you leave there without making a decision, you're most likely not to fall for it, because all you have to do is give a little more thought to it and you find out that it's a scam, right? So yeah, and the other one out in Conroe, Texas, because it was close to where we're living when we lived out in Houston, and I felt, oh, all right, we can always come out here to Conroe, but the whole scheme really doesn't make sense, financially speaking. But more than anything else is the way you get pressure to buy one, to buy a timeshare, and the way they bring people that supposedly know you or supposedly are like you. If you go to a particular church, you're gonna bring someone that's probably been to that church before, just someone that can speak your same language, all in a bid to pressure you. There's a way they delay you such that you are so tired that hopefully they think you will make a decision because you are tired. They change it from hand to hand. It's also it's a con game. It's a con game, and I've been in at least I've been that's one, two. I've been in another one in Florida. So about three or four meetings I've been in with all of this, and I can just summarize it's all a con game. They're trying to pressure you to make a decision that you have not truly thought through. They're not reasoning with you. They're trying to pressure you to make a financial decision, that will profit them and not really profit you. Right? So it's not about just being intelligent because they try and talk your language, speak your language, they try and delay you, right? So that you feel so tired because you're moving from one meeting to the other, right? And you get so tired that you just want to go out and they just want to leave the place and they're hoping that you'll make a decision to leave. The other part is also that yeah. So, and they just want you to make a decision before you leave, But let's go on here. So anyone can be a victim of these guys. So it's for you to just wise up, so you don't get suckered into it. Abraham Lincoln says you can fool all the people some of the time. Right. It says you can fool all the people some of the time and some of the people all the time, but you cannot fool all of the people all the time. So over time you're gonna your eyes will get open. Uh, hopefully your eyes will get open if you're not too busy with other things, but they do try to fool you, and they believe so much in their craft that they repeat the same game over and over again, hoping that someone will fall for it. They're not smart enough to have variants of their game. It's just about the same game, so but people fall. That's a funny thing. People do fall. They still call to talk about that your group has a meeting, try to give you a code when it's kind of known by all. But in your being busy, you could easily get suckered into it. So people act honestly and transparently. People who act honestly and transparently are difficult or impossible to swindle. So if you're honest, if you're transparent, it's kind of difficult to to swindle you because you're not trying to hide something, but sometimes that is not enough. You also need to be streetwise because this will come so seemingly innocent, so seemingly harmless, so seemingly fragile that your mercy, your bowel of mercy, might want to help them, might want to fall for it. So sometimes it's not just that you're not honest or you're not transparent. Sometimes they just come to play on your bowel of mercy. So it takes wising up. It takes to have heard about it. It takes to know about the game. It takes to have heard about other people's experience. Sometimes to avoid being swindled yourself, because you just want to help them. I've had people come into my Facebook profile, with different kind of excuses. Oh, I've gone to see someone somewhere and the person is not at home and I'm stuck. I don't have money to go. And it's me that you have never met before in your life. I'm the one to help you. You don't know any other person but me that you have never met in your life. There are those that say, "Oh, I have a child, and I don't have money to feed." And you go check their status; they're single. They don't have a child. People come with different foolish, stupid, crafty stories, all because they want to deprive you, they want to separate you from your money, they want to swindle you, right? So, but sometimes there are different types. There are those that come and give you the sense that you're going to gain some kind of reward. It may there's so much money somewhere if you do this. That one takes you not to be honest. To get swindled into that. Just that there are different categories of conning. If it's those ones where they suspected some fraudulent reward, for you to get conned into that, there must be some dishonesty also in you. But if it's just to help somebody who is deceptively looking for help, yeah, that could be pricking or calling on your bowels of mercy. But it takes you to be streetwise to be able to see, to be able to see through such people, right? So you learn, and that's the reason why we're having this discussion also, so that your consciousness, our consciousness, collective consciousness, can awaken, to this game, this con artistry, so that we they don't it will reduce the potential of being a victim of such a game, right? So, con men feel that professional men as a class are notoriously gullible, you know. So, in the con artistry, they feel that, professional people are notoriously gullible for different reasons, I would say, from my own experience. Again, con artistry, is calls or is asking for you to trust them with the intent of them abusing your trust. But a professional person is one who tends to give and to receive trust. Right. In professional circles, it was by trust. You believe in a system that a system would work. So you do your part, open believing that the system would work. Right. That's what happens in professional circle because everyone is given their own task. Everyone is given their own terms, their own description of your duty of the part of the weight that you're carrying in the company, and all you as you do your part, you're hoping that someone else is doing their part, so that everything can work together and produce the result that the company demands or the company needs, right? And being someone used to a system, all the con man needs to do is write a con story or develop a con artistry that will fit what you are used to, right? It just molds what you are used to. And when you see something that you're used to, you tend to believe it because that's what you live and walk and breathe every day. Right. So anyone that's used to any particular system can easily be con because all the con artist needs to do is develop a story that mimics, that is analogous to what you are used to. And because it's something you trust, you tend to think that this one will work just like the one that you do every day. Right. So that's another part of the act of conning. Right. So corner trees, they readily fancy, yeah. So that's pretty that, So you have to be careful, That's why anything that you do, don't get too suckered into the thing that you do, that you leave your brain at home. Yes, in life we go where our heart is taking us, but never leave your head behind because your heart cannot think. Your heart senses the momentum, senses probably where the wealth is, where to go, but your heart is not your thinking, is not what you have been given to reason or to analyze. The heart cannot analyze. The head is what does the analysis, the breaking down to the tiny pieces to understand how they fit together. So as much as you're following your heart, take your head along. You're going to need your head, to be able to decipher, how far you should go, where to stop, where to turn, right? Where to leave, where to stay. That's important, So, uh, in the light of yeah, yeah. So pretty much that. So we need to be careful, wherever we find ourselves to, always take time out to think, and thinking is important. If you're gonna make it in life, you must have a time to think. Because if you don't think, you would be you will always follow whatever is feeding you. You will always go some whatever is in a part of your unconscious bias, which is not always the part of life. The scriptures will say there's a way that that leadeth unto death, that seemeth, how does it put it out? There's a way that seemeth right, but the hands thereof is the way of death. It looks right because it fits your model. It fits what you are used to, but someone has tweaked something somewhere, and if you don't spend time to think, to reason out what is going on, you might just be suckered into something that's taking you to hell, where you are thinking you're taking you to heaven. You are thinking this is the what I'm used to that normally works, but someone has changed something along the way. And if you're not one that thinks or has time to think, you might be suckered into something that will make you lose, not gain. Right? That's important. So we need to always have, one of the ways we avoid being suckered is to have time to think. Every time I get to exercise is my thinking time. As much as I'm exercising my muscles and my body, that quiet time I used to think. I used to reason out my way. I used to think about what I'm going into, what I'm expecting, and in that time of exercise, I come up with what to do, whether to stay the same, to change, all of that. I see clearly in my thinking time, right? So my time of exercise for me as a person is my dedicated thinking time. Also, when I pray in the Holy Ghost, which I get to do Monday to Friday, it's a time I think also because my mind is not fully active. As I pray about my ways also. So that's another time for me, but not as much as the exercise time. But you must have time to think. Don't just be on the rat race. When you're not thinking, you are a rat on the rat race. It's the people that think that get off the rat race, right? Life is such that it wants you to just be following, playing the followers game. You're just following doing what every other person is doing without knowing why they are doing it, without knowing why they're doing it and where they're going, right? You need to do better than that. Yes, it's okay to learn from others, but then you must be sure that what the result that is getting is something that you want. It's something that when you get it, you will feel fulfilled. You'll be happy about the result that you get, because we're all different. What's good for A is not necessarily good for B. What's good for A and B might not necessarily be good for C, and we don't know which one is yours. So that's why you need to think. There's nothing wrong in learning from others and sometimes copying others, but be sure that what you're copying is suited and fitted for you, right? It's not a square peg in a round hole. It needs to be a square peg in a square hole or a round peg in a round hole. So think about it. Sometimes you don't have to do everything that they're doing. All you need to do is tweak some things to make it you. Tweak some things that will make it, be more amenable to your person, to your person, your goal, your desire, and pretty much what suits you, right? So that helps, to avoid being swindled, having to think and reason out whatsoever thing you are into. One thing was big in my mind as I was just preparing for this today. I had someone in my office supposed to be my friend, and you wouldn't expect this, but it was telling me about that he hears from God, he's spoken to these, he's made this and that, and he said I should come and see him. That's kind of stupid. I've been born again the last 42 years. I don't think he's anywhere close to that. And he thinks he has some spiritual gift and I should come see him. That's gotta be stupid. That's a sucker. That's a con artist. Trying to use spiritual bragado to make me feel somehow. Don't do that. Don't do that. All right. I had another example. I was thinking. I was one, but that's not coming to my mind right now. I will share that when it does come. You know, so the first thing a Mac needs. All right. For you to be a Mac, obviously nobody will come to you and try to make you a Mac or a victim if you don't have money. If you don't have money, nobody's going to come and try to con you. They con you because they think you have money, right? And that's what happens to me on Facebook, on social media, because of the pictures I post, the places I've been to, everybody thinks that there's some money that belongs to them in my hands, and they come with different excuses trying to get their supposed money in my hands, right? If you have money, money is also a spirit. Money attracts people, so you have to be able to say no. No has to be very cheap in your mouth. No has to be cheap in your mouth. Otherwise, people will ruin you, right? Your yes needs to be expensive. Your no needs to be cheap, right? The easiest answer is no, right? And if you're going to say yes, it better be something you have taught through, right? Because people are just trying to sucker you. They don't need the money. They just feel like you have too much. They have to take some of it from you, right? Um, so I mean, con artists, I mean, they put more energy into their game. So in a sense, they practice their art more than we do because we are not into we have better things to do. But the con artists, they practice their art, right? Before they come to you, they've taught it through. They look at all the different possibilities of things that you can say, and they have the right answers for you. But the reason why we're going through this is just to increase our whole consciousness towards it, hoping that that would help us to gain one against them, such that they don't have a upper hand, you know, over us, right? Uh, so they come with different stories, that they think they can get our bowel of mercy or make us, be able to tune towards them, so in such a way that they can manipulate us, right? So they would come with a story that they would be a mixture of truth with lies, right? If all that the con artists come to us is all lie, we would easily no mark him out, but he can also say all truth because his intent is to is to swindle us. So it's going to be a mixture of truth and lies mixed together in such a way that um we get absorbed in the supposed truth, not to notice when he brings in the lie, right? To hold us captive, right? Yeah, even fictions need to be believable, right? When people do fictions, if it's too much unbelievable, nobody will have interest in it. So a con artist then knows that in his story, he needs to make it as believable as possible. They know where to bring in the lie, to hold the mark captive, right? Um, Alrighty. Yeah, obviously, different victims or different people respond to uh, 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 the confidence game differently, right? Based on ethnicity, based on nationality, what we're used to, So there's a con game that would work for someone from America, Indian, Chinese. They're not all the same, right? So con artists tend to adapt their story to the people that they are talking to, right? Uh, So, so one of the worst things you can do is to assume that nobody can sucker you, nobody can swindle you, right? Most people that do make that assumption are the ones that get suckered, right? It's that place where uh, you're oblivious of the things that you are vulnerable to, right? So we're all vulnerable to 419, and sometimes what you can resist all the time, you might not be able to resist at some moment when you are absent-minded, you are busy with other things. I've seen myself, take things or respond to things that typically I won't respond to most times. But because I'm probably too busy, I'm in a hurry, I just answer it one way, and that is not what that's less than my better judgment, But if you have that that guy that there's a possibility of you being swindled. You always be on your toes. You always be uh conscious, not to fall victim of such, right? Um, Alrighty. Um, so Maria Konnikova says, "For our minds are built for stories." Says our minds are built for stories, and that's what a con artist does. They tell a story, to feed our subconscious mind, not really our conscious mind, you know. And in such a way as to make us get carried away in their story and go in the line of where they want to take us to. I see people, on Facebook just come in and say, "How are you?" If it's just the ordinary greeting, "Good morning, good morning. How are you? How was your day?" And I don't know you from Adam. I'm not sure. You're just coming from nowhere and you're trying to find out about my day. I'm a busy person. I mean, I don't do too much. I do small talks with people that I know, but someone I've never met before, I have no clue who you are, and you're trying to do small talks with me. Uh, and I know where it's going to end because I've tried to be cautious with people. I've tried to be respectful with people. I've tried to be professional with people when it comes like that, but always ends the same way. Someone is looking for money, right? Someone is looking for something for nothing. So much so when it starts, I know where it's going to end. So I don't get suckered into any of those stories, right? So you learn by experience, but you don't have to wait for your own experience. I'm telling you from my own experience, when they start trying to drag you into those small talks, it's all in a bid to action for something. And they don't need that thing. They just want to deprive you of yours. Right. So yeah, so the best thing is not to even start. Don't get into those small talks and you'll be better for it. Right. All right. So the story of belief is a story of basic, irresistible, universal human need to believe in something that gives life meaning, something that reaffirms our views of ourselves, the world, and our place in it, right? So the con artist comes with a story, right? And we just need to be careful. I wouldn't even start with the story because, like we said last week, one of the reasons why Eve fell, to the serpent's deception was even starting that discussion with the serpent. There are discussions I don't go into, right? There are people by experience. Anytime we're having a discussion and someone has to write 3 pages to answer a simple question, it tells me that person is confused. That person is a con artist. That person is trying to worry me by too much reading. He wants to make me tired, so that I would then be susceptible to the false information it's trying to pass across. So when people answer me with too many pages, too many words, I don't even read it. And people see that in some of my WhatsApp group, I don't even read it. I just get an idea, quick idea of what it's trying to say, and I move on, right? Because what they're trying to do when they do that is trying to wear you out. When you're worn out, when you're tired, you could easily receive a false information, right? So I'm not even going to give them that opportunity. So you need to be careful the kind of stories you get into. If you already see the hand from the beginning, don't even start it, right? Eve should not have had that discussion with the serpent, because that moved her from one position to the other, right? Anything that has to do with what God has already said for me is sacrosanct in my heart, in my mind. I don't even have a discussion around it. If God has settled it, I don't even think about it. And we all need to have those things that are sacrosanct in our life that we don't even give we don't give a chance, to become vulnerable, to miss to disobedience or to misplacement on those things, right? So it's important sometimes to just see the hand from the beginning and not even start, right? If you see that it's something that's going to take you away from a part of life, right? Our subconsciousness is seeking to play its recording or be played on, right? We're hungry for stories. We're hungry for stories that are logical, that seemingly make sense. But we need to be careful that we don't get on stories that can, bring in corruptions along the way that can make us go off the path of life, right? So there's nothing a con artist likes better than exploiting the sense of unease we feel when it appears that the world as we know it is about to change, right? When we are going through changes, when things are not stable, when things are not the way you are used to, that is the right moment for a con artist. So if you know that you're going through a change, a transition, that's not the time to give your trust to someone that you don't know, someone that you have not built a relationship with, So that's why, well, scripture was tell us that if your strength fails you in a day of adversity, it's because your strength is small. That means you did not make the best use of your time of peace. The time of peace is a time to make friends. It's a time to make connection. It's a time to know the people that are for you and the people that are against you. It's a time to know the people you can trust in a day of adversity and the people you cannot trust in a day of adversity. When I was going through my last depression here, one of my friends told me that I should stop sharing my story to everyone because some people are happy that I'm depressed, right? Some people are happy that I'm depressed. And he was saying the truth, right? So you can imagine how many people that I share my story with and are just happy that I'm depressed, right? And I know one who was in the office. He was just happy that I was where I was and was just still playing me around in his evil mind, right? So, but you have to be careful so you don't as it were go and offer yourself to the enemy, right? And the time to know the people that you can trust, when you run out of strength, when you run out of when you're not yourself, when you need a shoulder to rest on, is in a time of peace, right? You need to build on your team, build on the people that are like-minded with you, fellowship with the right people, build relationships, right? Build a relationship. I'm not saying all the relationships you build will work for you. And no matter how much you want to build, there are those that will not want to build with you. You just need to know them and move on, right? Don't force a relationship because the relationship you build in a time of peace is the one that will sustain you, in the day of adversity, right? Uh, yeah. So, I mean, one of the things changes do for us is that it makes us uneasy, right? It makes us uneasy because whatever neural pathway we've created before, whatever habits that we have before might not be working in this new environment or transition that's taking place. So we're getting to form new habits, we're getting to find new ways, to be comfortable with the changes around us, and that's where a con artist wants to come in and hopefully seemingly take our stress away, seemingly dictate that there's a better way or easy way to do things. There's a shortcut to things, but all it's trying to do in doing that is to gain mastery over us, so as to be able to make us do things that we would not normally do. Right. So in the time of change, you need to you have to be careful about what you do. You don't want to rush into anything. You want to think, and think again, before you take a step, and let it be a step that you decided to yourself, not one that someone, as it were, forced you to go along or witchcraft you to go along, right? Or manipulated you to go along, right? That's important. Human beings, Maria Konnikova says, human beings don't like to exist in a state of uncertainty or ambiguity. When something doesn't make sense, we want to supply the missing link. When we don't understand what or why or how something happened, we want to find explanation. right? And really, not everything needs to be understood. Not everything needs to be explained. You just if you don't understand, just work with what you understand. Just work with what you understand. When you try to force feed, is how people become lawful captives to other people, right? Uh, you don't have to understand everything, to take the next step. Just work with what you know, right? Won't be a victim of need to understand, because that's how people become swindled, because there'll be a con artist that will give you the answer that you're looking for, which is not necessarily the right answer. But since all you're looking for is an answer, it'll give it to you, right? So you have to be careful that your own craving does not become the keys to your prison, right? Your cravings don't become the keys to your prison, right? You need to control your craving, and be willing to patiently walk from where you are to where you need to be, doing whatever it is that you know to do. Make the best of it, right? So, and that's important. That comes also in the place of religion, because tries to uh religion tries to explain sometimes the things that cannot be explained. Whereas the word of God says that all the things that have been revealed to us, is for us and our children. And we're supposed to run with it, not be stuck looking for the things that have not been revealed to us. Right? When we walk with the things that are revealed to us, the things that are not revealed to us will be revealed to us of their own accord. Because faithfulness in the things that you know will open up the things that you don't know, right? In that spiritual time, you know. But the same thing, in life itself is not to be in a hurry, but to make the best of what's in your hands. As you do that, other things will be opened out to you. So human beings don't like to exist in a state of uncertainty and ambiguity. They rather choose the path of least resistance to a perceived certainty rather than do the job of waiting and walking the path forward. That's how people get swindled if you are always willing to take the easy path. The easy part is typically the part of being swindled, right? We treat easy part is not always the right part, right? If you're supposed to do something, count the cost. What is it that I want to get? Which side has it? Then begin to do it. Don't always look for which part is easier, because the easy part is not the right path, right? It's about paying. It's not always the right path. Ask the right questions and pick the path that fits what you're looking for, right? So, something in us craves for easy way out. Something in us craves for safety rather than progress. Is a default of our brain. It's up to us not to follow that default. Which that's why we said we need to think through our way, have a time to think, so that we're not taking the default because it is easy. We're taking the default because it's one that will get us to where we're going. Right is the way to go. So it's not about asking for the easy, it's about asking for the way, and be willing to pay the price for the way that we've chosen. Right. So all of this points towards being mentally tough, right? Not to be a easy, simple person. And if we read the book of Proverbs, we'll see the word simple coming out often. And that's just talking about a simple person is one that can be conned, that can be swindled, that can be 419, that can be muggled. The opposite to being simple-minded is to have a mental toughness, that you're not looking for the easy way. You're looking for the way, whatever that way is, whether it be easy or it be hard, but you're willing to do what it takes, do or go the path that it takes to get you to what you're looking for, right? So mental toughness is about choosing hard things intentionally or on purpose, right? It's about not compromising your way, your standard, but choosing the path that goes along with your standard, your way, what you are known for, your commitment, right? That's one of the ways we avoid being swindled as a victim. The more we build mental toughness, the more difficult it is, for us to be victims of the confidence game, right? Yeah, so that's important. And lastly, here for talking about the Mac, uh, cons thrive in times of transition. Was said that especially when it's going too fast for the Mac, to understand or grasp. So when things are happening, and old ways of looking at the world is no longer works. The whole neural pathways, in our brain no longer works. People were forced to make changes. And, and thus we are forced to create new neural pathways, new habits to cope with, the things that we have to do, right? Such is a fertile ground for the con actors, but mental toughness, being willing to do what it takes to get what we want is one of the ways we overcome that. All right, that's all I have for today. I'm finishing early, but I don't want to go past talking about the Mac. Next week we'll talk about the grifter, who is the con artist himself. So I hope you got something from this. Thanks, Ricky, for stopping by. Thanks, Dari, for stopping by. And all we just try to share, is talking about what could make us potential victims of being swindled. I hope you got one or two things from that. We'll be back next week talking about the con artist himself. All right. Have a great remaining of today and a great week ahead. See you same time next week, God willing. Bye bye.